me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank one of my subscribers, Tanya E, for this info. And I'm going to go over a little bit of it. But before I start, I want to say this. Anytime we talk about all of the disparities and things that are going on, these folks always come talking about why do you have to make it all about race? They made it all about race centuries ago. You got written policies, ordinances, statutes, law, all written based on skin color. A lot of this stuff have never been abolished. When they got rid of slavery, a lot of these laws, don't assume these laws got abolished. They didn't. In fact, I remember when I was in school, I was asking the teacher, I said, well, once slavery became illegal, why didn't you get rid of all of these laws? And she said, well, we don't really use it anymore. So that's why nobody really cares because nobody uses that. But apparently, y'all, they still do use it. They do. Because even in these modern times, and even back then it's modern. I mean, everything about these people is modern, but they try to project themselves as ancient. There's nothing ancient about them. They're modern. Even in modern times, everything is along racial lines. Just look at the situation that's going on now with Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely. It's split along racial lines because the skin color thing hasn't gone anywhere. So it makes me laugh when they come on Black platforms and channels and talk about why is it about race, and there's all these written laws that anybody got access to, seeing that them folks made it all about race and they continue to hold on to it like a religion. So let's get into this. So I'm going to show you, and this is what Tanya E um, sent. And there's actually more to this. Now, I also had a person come in my comment section when I did my video on the one drop rule, and they said biracials can refer to themselves as anything. No, they can't. There were laws against biracials trying to claim themselves white. What do you think Plessy versus Ferguson was all about? You had a very white looking man, but he had black blood. And an all white jury declared he cannot be recognized as a white man. That's why they said whenever there's an issue with biracials, if one comes along and try to declare whiteness, it had to go before a white jury, and that white jury never allowed them to be called white. Laws were written forbidding them from calling themselves white. So when you wrote that in the comment section, it was very clear that you never studied the laws of the land when it came down to mulattoes. I certainly have, and I know it was illegal for them to do that. So if you look at this North Carolina law for Negroes, you see what they saw as Negroes in the eyes of a white man. So if you look at section 4, and I'll show you more of this a little later, but here we are now. So Negro Law of South Carolina, Chapter 1, the status of the Negro, his rights and disabilities. So section 4 of this law started out saying the term Negro is confined to slave Africans, the ancient Berbers, and their descendants. All right, now follow me on this next part because this is what they referred to as inhabitants from Africa. It does not embrace free inhabitants of Africa. Now, today, they try to argue us down and say Egyptians are not black. But in this 1740 law, they were. And I'm going to bring up another point, but let me read through this. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatic, such as the Luscars. Ladies and gentlemen, they only wrote laws according to the population in the land. Now, in order for them to write Egyptians in, those melanated Egyptians were in the land. That's just like you writing a law in the middle of Africa and you say, well, this includes Filipinos and people from Singapore, and none of those people are even around in your land. You wouldn't write a law like that. You would only write people into a law that was physically here on American soil. So those Egyptians and Moors and Negroes were all melanated people. Don't let these people try to run con games on you and make you believe it was something different. It was nothing different. Some of them were here. That's why they were written into this South Carolina law. And you got to ask yourself, if they were real Egyptians, why would you have a problem with Egyptians to the point where you separated them and you put them in the same category as Negroes, Moors? Ladies and gentlemen, this is why they don't want the real history taught. They're going to just come and run a con game on you. And I promise you, when they try to counteract this, they're going to try to counteract it by babbling, and they're not going to show you anything that debunks what I just said. This is what they do. And this is what they have gotten away with all this time. They'll just come babble up some nonsense, and we're all supposed to believe it, and this whole thing should go away. This is why you should never accept this thing about their education as reparations. As you can see, just looking at something like this, their education ain't worth a damn. It ain't worth dog piss. Why would you accept education as reparations from people that are trying to hide the true history? And what benefit has their education been anyway? When you look at K through 12, they don't teach you not one thing that pertains to real life skills that you have to live every day. There is not one useful thing out of their education that gets you through daily life in this country. I took calculus when I was in high school, algebra with calculus in junior high school. I haven't used not ounce of that stuff. All the stuff that I've learned in history, George Washington never told a lie. That never benefit me in any kind of way in my life. Never benefit me. What use or benefit did I gain from being told, George Washington had wooden teeth? I did not gain anything out in society with that information. They don't teach you nothing of use. Why would you accept that as reparations? And look, who's gonna be teaching us that education? Karen? The same one that taught us all this stuff of no use, that person is gonna give us a teaching as reparations? I don't think so. I sure wouldn't take it, and I doubt if my people that are strong in their thinking and are awake, woke, they wouldn't accept that from you either. So when you try to con us into thinking that there's some value in your education, I beg to differ. Thank you, Tanya E. Once again, I looked up the full law out of South Carolina, this Negro law of South Carolina. And if you look down, let me see if I can blow this up some. If you look down at section 4, that is exactly what I just showed you. The term Negro is confined to slave Africans, the ancient Berbers, and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as Egyptians, Moors, and the Negro Asiatic, okay, such as Lascars. Ladies and gentlemen, this whole document, you know how they tell us you make everything about race? This entire law is about race. The whole thing from start to finish. If you go through, it goes over mulattoes and um, mulatto and the issues they had with mulattoes. And if you had a problem with having African blood, but you want to consider yourself white, you had to go before an all white jury, which always denied a mulatto. It goes over Indian blood. The whole thing from start to finish is about race, is about skin color, is about oppression. I mean, the whole thing. Look at how many sections this thing had. It had a total of, look, 65 sections all about race. That's why when these folks come in your face talking about we make it all about race, oh no, honey, you beat us to that punchline centuries ago. And you should never allow them to get away with saying that to you or calling us racist. Let me tell you, we don't have the power to be racist. Number two, we don't have, you can look through all the centuries of us being around each other. You won't find a single law, statute, policy written by us to keep you out because you are white. You won't find it anywhere in history. But we sure can find this stuff when it comes down to you. Big time. Y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family. And I'll have the link to this in the description box. Peace, family.